The plants where we get essential oils from tend to not require a lot of pesticides or at all sometimes because they act as their own repellent. So that makes them uniquely cleaner as a product, regardless of whether they're organic or not.
Sometimes in our health and wellness industry, we think everyone knows what essential oils are. Well, we've all heard about lavender, peppermint oil, tea tree oil. Essential oils have way more uses and properties than these three popular ones I just mentioned. So here to give us an in-depth understanding of essential oils and their uses, Dr. Thalia Charney explains the important uses of essential oils, how they are extracted, how to use them safely, and what to watch out for. So I hope you get some practical tips on what and how essential oils are and how you can use them in your day-to-day lives. Today I'm joined with Dr. Thalia Charney, a naturopathic doctor, currently inactive, and the Nutrition and Health Education Manager for the Now brand in Canada. With her 30 years in the health industry, her formal training along with her personal and professional experiences, this has formed a strong basis for her speaking and education platform. Dr. Thalia is also the author of The 3-Minute Liquid Meal Blueprint, curious about that one, The Confident Food Shopper, The Guide to Food Labels and Fables, and The Expert Patient. Health is not a spectator sport. So welcome, Dr. Thalia.
Thank you so much for having me, Vicky. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, and like I've said to you before, I love your trainings. I love the in-depth perspective that you bring to your webinars. But today, what we want to talk about is we're going to talk about essential oils. So many people, have heard of essential oils, like lavender, peppermint, or tea tree, and they may have used those, but there's a lot of different oils. So tell us, Dr. Thalia, what are essential oils?
So, essential oils, and there's something I use a lot and I love, they're extracts from plants. But of course, you have many different chemicals naturally in plants. These are specifically what we call the volatile components of the plant. So they're volatile in that if you put them in room temperature, they're just naturally going to evaporate into the air. And if you walk by a rose garden and you smell the roses, that's the volatile components of the plant. Now, they can come from not just the flowers, it can be from the stem, from the leaves, but they are very concentrated. So you're just taking that one component out. And just to give an idea of how concentrated they are, if anyone out there has lemon essential oil, which is a common one, if you took the lemon rinds and you wanted to make one 30 milliliter bottle, it's about this big of essential oil, they would use about 300 of the lemon rinds. So
Wow.
that just, yeah, puts in perspective. It's concentrated. So it's natural, but it's not natural in that
Yeah.
concentration. And how it's made is through something called steam distillation. So you have the plant material and there's steam underneath it. And that steam lifts up the aromatic light components and then they cool it down and it condenses. So you have the separation. So technically, essential oils are made using steam distillation, but consumers will see a few other types. They'll see cold pressed, sometimes written on the bottle. So citrus are made cold pressed. They still technically can be called essential oils. And then there are essential oils made with a sort of a solvent extract or using carbon dioxide. And technically, those are not essential oils, but they'll still be displayed in essential oil area.
Mm.
So something like rose or jasmine, because they're so delicate and they're expensive, they can't be extracted the usual way. So on those bottles, you actually see it will say rose absolute
Oh,
or jasmine absolute, which is a distinction from an actual essential oil, but they still
oh,
all go together.
okay. And they're quite fragrant. The
Yes.
rose and the geranium,
My
very
two
fragrant.
favorites, I think.
Yes, yeah. So,
Yes.
like a lot of people take lavender for relaxation, at nighttime, sort of relax, help them sleep. I used to tell my kids, or I used to put lavender on a Kleenex or a tissue and then put it between their pillow and their pillowcase to help them relax. They would do a
Nice.
lavender bath, Saturday night. That was our big thing. So they're nice aromas or smells, but how do people use them and how do they grade the essential oils?
So obviously, as you've said, inhalation is one way, and it's really nice just to enjoy the scents. It's probably the safest way for anyone who's new to essential oils to use them. And you can do that like you did. You can buy it's called a diffuser, where you put the drops in some water and it naturally sort of disperses it into the air. There's air fresheners made. I've done sometimes webinars on making perfumes. And as you mentioned, you can put them in the bath as well to enjoy the scent. So, though you have to be careful about how you do it, we can get to that. Another way people use essential oils, which is still enjoying their scents, of course, is to put them on topically onto the body. They might use them in a body butter you make, which I've done. If you go to a massage therapist, you can add essential oils into whatever massage oil you use. And they're sometimes used for more medicinal purposes, like, for example, lemon balm is an essential oil that has at least one clinical trial suggesting may be helpful for cold sores. So someone might put it that way. It's best to like do those under advisement and to understand how to dilute them. Cleaning products is a great way to use them as well. You can either, if you make your own cleaning products, you can add them in, but even if you have cleaning products already in existence, just add a few drops, clean your floors with it. They're used to repel insects sometimes, or mice, like something like peppermint. And that's just taking advantage of what essential oils actually do for plants. They often, for the purposes of the plant, they're there to both attract some insects, say bees, and they're also there to repel some as their own kind of safety mechanism. So we're using that as well. And yeah, and first aid, sometimes I remember I got a bad burn at once and I put a diluted lavender on it. Not, not a third-degree burn, then you go to the hospital, but yeah, a little bit of a burn.
Well,
So
when you're
yeah.
saying about cleaning, so when we clean our store, we'll put, lemon, or we'll do, like, lately we've been doing eucalyptus in our bucket, our pail, just to kill the bacteria, and then in our diffuser as well, just to kill the bacteria in the air in our diffuser.
Yeah, I know for eucalyptus, a common use is for adults is if they have colds or they have
Mhm,
congestion, and
mhm.
they will put it in a sink or sort of breathe
Yeah,
over
yes,
an
yeah,
enclosed area.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a really great
And you're
use.
saying too, like, don't put them right on your skin directly. You have to have sort of a carrier oil or a body butter.
Yeah, there's certainly safety precautions, and maybe I'll go through like in a little while there's many different suggestions I have for safe use, including
Mhm,
that. One of the most important things I want to just mention for safety is about ingesting them, just
mhm,
because there's a lot of misinformation online. And I see sometimes influencers, I've seen them putting essentials right into their
yeah,
mouth or
yeah.
dropping it into a glass of water. So now going back to the potency, if you took, this is a real approximation, but if you took 20 bags of peppermint tea bags and infused them in hot water and then drank that, and nobody would do that, right? But
Mhm,
if you did, that's about the same potency as one drop of peppermint essential oil.
mhm, mhm.
So it's about the dose makes the poison. And that's the reason we don't ingest essential
Discourage.
oils.
Yeah,
Yeah. And in
yes.
Canada, anyway, it
Yeah.
should and usually does say on any bottle to do not ingest. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm not a fan of ingesting essential oils, and they're highly concentrated, like you said. And I think, like, people that are doing it over time, it's going to create havoc in their microbiome.
There
Would you
are
say?
cases of people, I haven't seen specific studies on those, but there's cases of people going to the hospital with
Hmm.
sort of holes or
Oh
damage
boy.
occurring in their stomach because they're ingesting peppermint oil, which is one out there. Because people think of, oh, peppermint is helpful for digestion, which it
Hmm.
is.
Hmm.
But the thing is, when you, like I have a glass here of water, essential oils are not soluble in water. So if you drop them in the glass, they don't
Mm,
mix into the water. That drop just floats on the top, and that entire dose is going straight into the
right,
stomach.
right. Makes sense.
Yeah, but there are cases where you can ingest essential oils, and that's where not only is it food grade, there
Hmm.
are food grade essential oils. So any company that carries something like peppermint, lemon, ginger, chamomile, these are things we associate as food. Those essential oils will be technically food grade, but in order to be safely consumed, they have to be in a approved food product like peppermint chocolate bar or in a
Okay,
toothpaste.
right,
Yeah. And
right.
those are then they're sufficiently diluted and they're ready to
Mm,
consume
mhm,
without an issue, but it's
right.
just more of taking it in the bottle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
peppermint capsules, we can get peppermint soft gel capsules as well.
Yes, exactly. So
Mhm,
you
mhm.
will again
That would be the way.
here
Yeah.
there out in the internet world, sometimes people saying, "Oh, this essential oil, this peppermint essential is food grade, therefore it's
Mm,
safe to take to ingest."
mm, mhm,
And that is, it is false because every company that makes peppermint essential oil, it's going to be food grade, but that doesn't make it
mm.
safe to ingest.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because in the store I do have peppermint oil soft gels, but it's not essential oil. It's just peppermint oil, like you were saying about having an NPN.
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
if they
So
wanted
that
to do peppermint, that would be the way to do it.
Yeah, and the best way, I think the reason people want to take essential oil is they hear something about it and its properties and they
Hmm.
want to get it into their body. But what they don't realize is that you're always really consuming it, even if you're not swallowing it, because when you inhale it, it's going into your lungs. Firstly, that is the fastest way to get an essential into your body. It crosses through the lung tissue is very porous into
Mm,
your blood within seconds. Even if you rub it on your skin, there are studies showing that some of it anyway is absorbed through the skin, like maybe 5 to 10%. It depends on the person, the essential oil, even their
mhm,
skin. And it also goes into the nasal passage and it
mhm,
binds to
mhm.
receptors
Yeah.
in our nose. And although we don't necessarily know that that doesn't cross into the brain from there, but it binds to neurons, and there have been studies shown in animals that it can affect certain neurotransmitters and parts of the
Sure.
brain.
Yes.
So there's quite a few small pilot trials on different,
Yes.
especially the citrus essential oils, saying they
Mm,
can affect your mood.
mm,
So yeah, yeah. So they can confidently understand consumers that they're
yeah.
still getting into the body in a way without swallowing them per se.
So I'm glad you mentioned that you brought up animals because, with pets like cats and dogs, they say don't diffuse essential oils. And that would be why, because it'll affect their neurotransmitter.
I mean, it depends. It's not that you can never
Yeah.
diffuse around animals,
Okay.
but there certainly are
Okay.
websites out there that give general information about safety of essential oils for pets.
Right.
Um, Cats are particularly sensitive, as are birds. They
Mm,
don't detox the same way humans do. So something that a dog may be able to tolerate, a
okay.
cat or a bird may not.
Mm,
So we do need to be careful around pets. So just diffuse in a very open area, maybe open the windows, make sure that the doors are open, pets can freely move out of the
mhm,
room. If I
mm.
had a bird, I wouldn't diffuse
Yes.
essential oils
Yes.
around them,
Okay.
or a cat that's not well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
have to use common sense.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, in that
So
regard.
you were mentioning about like the quality of the essential oils. So would you say organic only?
Well, for quality, let me go back again to some stuff that's online. There's
Mhm.
this term that's thrown around at times, implying that the quality of a particular essential oil is better because it's aromatherapy grade.
Okay. Okay,
Or
that's what I
sometimes,
was getting at, aromatherapy grade. Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
sometimes other terms are used. They may say medicinal grade,
Mm,
therapeutic grade.
okay.
All of these terms are, just buyer beware, they're marketing terms because,
Right.
yeah, there's no such thing as aromatherapy grade.
Okay.
So I'm sure consumers have heard of things also like pharmaceutical grade and such. So there are, in the world, there are such things as certain grades, but in the essential oil world, there is no statutory organization that has deemed, if you follow these certain processes, this qualifies as aromatherapy grade. So that doesn't exist. So
Mm,
the only way to know if an essential oil is good quality is that it has been through really broadly internationally recognized quality tests. And there's a whole range of them that test for purity, for potency, for plant part, make sure that
mhm,
you have in there what you should have. And there certainly are many cases of just like with anything, you'll find the same thing with supplements where there are foreign material that maybe duplicates, seems similar to the smell that you're used to, but isn't the actual material to make it cheaper. So it's just
Mm.
the quality testing. You need to make sure that a company does the quality testing and don't worry about the grades
Whether
and that sort of
or
claim.
organic or not kind of thing,
Uh,
or
Organic? No, that's a really great question.
yeah.
So with organic, certainly consumers are welcome to buy organic. An interesting thing with essential oils is two-part when it comes to, say, non-organic, because I mentioned before the steam distillation. So you have this evaporation. The great thing about that is, so the only components that evaporate are the very light particles, and essential oils are very light. That's why they float in the air. And as it turns out, pesticides are very heavy,
Mm.
as are heavy metals. They're named for that. They're big particles, so they don't evaporate. So essential oils are generally quite pure, even if they're non-organic. It's not really an issue.
Okay.
And also, as I mentioned before, those aromas in the plants are meant to deter pests. So essential oils, or the plants where we get essential oils from, tend to not require a lot of pesticides or at all sometimes, because they act as their own repellents.
Mm.
So that makes them kind of just uniquely cleaner as a product, regardless
Mm.
of whether they're organic or not.
Interesting. Interesting. So we talked about, the essential oils, how they're processed, steam distilled and cold pressing. Yes. So just some general practical tips, for safe use of essential oils. You talked a little bit about that, but let's dive into it a little bit more. And can they be used every day?
That's a great question. Can they be used every day? I probably use them every day. There's no, to be honest, there's no long-term studies in
Okay.
existence of, like, if
Okay.
someone's using lavender for their entire lifetime of
Okay.
exposure, what happens?
Yeah.
So that one's going to come back to common sense as well. I'll sort of go through a whole bunch of tips. I think with essential oils for everyday use, if you're a healthy adult and you have a good, decent knowledge of safety for essential oils, and you're being followed by doctors or various practitioners, and you're taking care of your health, and you're just being aware of how you feel, probably. But again, I can't say for
Mhm.
sure, but I will say that we are exposed to scents every day anyway. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
if you're in a garden, you're exposed to those scents every
Mhm.
day, but not in that kind of potency. So it's a
Right.
great
Right.
question with not
Yeah.
not a
Well,
concrete
and
answer.
we cycle. We cycle. Like we'll do lavender for a while. Like I'm saying, we're doing eucalyptus right now, so we're never using the same oils every
Yep, it's a
day
good
as well.
point.
So
Good
yeah,
point.
no, yeah, I was just curious if it was something you could use every day. And yeah.
Yeah, Vicky, that's a great point. I mean, in the natural health world, sometimes even for other things outside of essential oils, like say adaptogens, which are
Mm-hmm.
herbs, you often hear the recommendation to cycle in and out. And that's usually not based again on like a concrete science of we know exactly it should be used for this long and then not.
Mm-hmm.
But it's again more applying the common sense and I guess like the precautionary principle.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
especially if you're putting essential oils on your skin and using the same one again and again, it is possible for a sensitization or an allergy to
Sure.
develop. So I
Sure.
don't think it's a bad idea, but when you buy products that have pre-existing essential oils, like say a cream, they're usually so diluted that for most people, it's not going to be an issue using it every day. But
Mm-hmm.
when people are using it themselves and don't know how to dilute it, there's maybe more chance of having those issues. So as you mentioned before, dilution, 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 if it's going on the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So that means taking the essential oil and adding it into what we call a carrier oil. And a carrier oil it's any oil. I mean, you could pull out the olive oil from under your sink if you want, but people do like to buy jojoba oil, grapeseed oil, different carrier oils for various reasons.
Mm.
So, like, say,
Coconut oil.
coconut oil. Yeah. So you can use whatever one you want because those are fatty and
Mm-hmm.
essential oils are fat soluble. Then they
Okay.
mix unlike in water. And so that's
Okay.
why it's safer. But you still need to know for each essential oil how much they need to be diluted to be safe is going to differ, and depending on where you're putting it on your body. So it has to be much more diluted on the face than on the body, and it depends how often you're applying
Mhm.
it. So some knowledge basically, but for the beginners, I'm going to suggest, if you want to use topically, then some good essential oils that are very gentle would be lavender,
Mhm.
would be ginger, turmeric, which I love. If you've never tried that, it actually smells exactly like turmeric, chamomile, myrrh, frankincense. Those are some that still need to be diluted, but are not too harsh. Just as a quick story, I walked into a store one day where they're selling essential oils. Person there was very kind, but she obviously didn't have a good background in essential oil safety. She just sort of pulled my arm out and took,
Oh.
it was cinnamon, and said, "Oh, you got to try this." Just put drops, rubbed
Oh.
it on my arm, which immediately turned red and was
Oh.
burning. Cinnamon is one that has to be diluted much, much, much more than lavender, and they didn't
Mhm.
know that. So that's why, you just gotta have a little bit of knowledge.
Well, and I find with my customers, they will gravitate to what they feel or what smell like I might like lavender and someone else will like, "No, thank you." So, it's nice because you have testers, they can smell them, and then they just feel right about whatever scent they gravitate to. Now, we're in the winter months here and you're all bundled up.
Yeah,
So a
a bit
lot of
cold here.
people experience SAD, like SAD. Do you have some essential oils that would elevate people's moods through the winter time that they could diffuse? Any thoughts on that?
Well, as I mentioned, there's some studies that suggest certain, especially in the citrus essential oil,
Okay.
can help uplift our mood. So it could
Yeah.
be lemon, lime is a favorite of mine if you haven't
Okay.
tried it. Orange, and lavender has probably more studies than any other
Okay.
essential oils.
Yeah.
Definitely the best evidence there for uplifting the mood. But as you said, it's not for everybody. Like some people
Right, right.
don't
So
like the
citrus.
lavender.
So
Yeah.
look for citrus essential oils. Elevate
Yeah.
your mood. Yes, and they
Yeah.
do. They do for sure.
I mention a few more things about
Yeah.
the safety. So in the bath, because I know people like to
Mhm.
put it in the bath, there too, you really, really need to stick with
Mhm.
the gentle ones. So I'd say like lavender or chamomile. And again, the bath is water, so you can't just put essential oils in the bath because they will just float on top of the water, stick to your skin and
Mhm.
irritate it. So you need to add the essential oils, just say a few drops. Now, this is just specific to lavender. I'm going to say
Okay.
a tablespoon of carrier oil, about
Oh.
13 drops of lavender, mix it in the oil first, and then put it in the bath. So
Oh.
it's already dispersed in the oil.
Mhm.
For others, it's going to be a lot less. So I would stick again with a beginner with those. And another thing I wanted to mention was for people applying them topically, that the citrus in particular have a property where they make us more sensitive to the sun. If you make something topical and then you go out into the
Right.
sun, you're much more likely to burn. So it's generally suggested not to put those kind of essential oils topically if you're going out in the sun, and unless you're fully covered. So
Now, going back to the bath, like we have sea salt that has essential oils in it. Is that okay? Like, because the oil is mixed in with the sea salt?
as long as there's oil as well, because I don't think just sea salts are going to solubilize them. I mean, if it's a ready-made product, then
Mhm.
yeah, I don't want to say that there's any issue with it if it's
Yeah.
approved by Health Canada.
Yes.
But there's two things, from what I know, that make essential oils soluble. One is oils, and the other is alcohol.
Okay.
Uh, so there's a lot of online recipes that are adding essential oils just into water, and that's a good way to flag a not great product.
Okay.
Now, sometimes it doesn't matter because maybe you're spraying in the air and not on your
Mhm.
skin,
Okay.
but you need to have, say, even if you're making an air fresh, you need to have water mixed with alcohol.
Oh,
So yeah, yeah, not
very
drinking
nice.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way. With recipes online too, there's a lot of recipes that are not great or not safe. So if you see a recipe, check for, is that posted by some sort of expert? Are they an aromatherapist or someone you have good reason to believe is an authority and has background, which doesn't just mean like a salesperson
Right,
of
right.
essential oils, just
Yeah, yeah.
to be careful.
Well, I
Yeah.
bet you have a favorite recipe.
I do have a favorite recipe now. Unfortunately, with this one, I have to say I have expensive taste. So
Oh,
I'll tell you, it's a perfume and it's absolutely lovely. So you need to, and I'm going to give the exact amounts because the dilutions are important. So
mm,
if someone has like a 10 milliliter container, often online you can buy these little roll-on containers,
okay. Mhm.
and you add in 1 drop of lime, which, as I said, I love, 5 drops of rose, it's absolute,
Yes.
which is going to be a 5% dilution. You can't really buy pure rose because it's too expensive, so
Mhm,
it's already diluted. 4 drops of jasmine in a 7%,
mhm,
and 5 drops of vanilla oil,
mm,
a 1%.
mhm.
So yeah, those three are expensive essential oils, rose, jasmine, and vanilla. But that combination, I tell you, is heavenly. So you
And
need
is
to
there
try
like
that.
a carrier oil or it's just the essential oils or it's an alcohol, like
So
as a
you
perfume?
so you're taking this little container, you're
Mhm.
filling the whole container up with your carrier oil of choice.
Okay.
I like jojoba oil for
Okay.
perfumes. So it's then you've got some oil.
Mhm.
And then, of course, those three, rose, jasmine, and vanilla, will already also be pre-diluted because they're so expensive.
Right. True. That good
Yeah,
point. Yes. Yeah.
yeah. And then you just roll it on.
So we will have that recipe in our show notes if someone didn't
Okay.
catch it all. So I will
Thank you.
get it in the show notes and they can emulate it how they would like to.
We call it Talia's perfume.
There we go. Right. Yeah. No, the other one is patchouli. Not everyone, that's an
Oh, it's
acquired
lovely.
scent, but sometimes just it's calming, right? So I will just put it right on my clothes, actually. Yeah. And then I'm smelling it. Like you're wearing that scarf, you can just put it on the scarf and it will stain. So you don't want to put it on a silk scarf or anything. And
Indeed.
then you're just smelling it throughout the day. And then they have these jewelry now that has the little sponges. Okay, where you can put the drop in, yeah, and then you're
Yeah.
smelling it through the day as well. And again, the
Yes,
scent
those are
is
nice.
like you gravitate to the scent that you like. And if people are wanting something uplifting to get them through the winter months, look for citrus essential oils. So great information. And just to recap, the uses of essential oils, please don't ingest them, and if you're going to put them on your skin, make sure they're in a carrier oil or make sure they're in like a body butter. You can diffuse them. You can put them in your cleaning products, your pail when you're washing the floors or cleaning the house, and especially citrus. It's very uplifting when you're cleaning.
Yeah.
And then I said at the store we're using a eucalyptus just because a lot of viruses and bugs are traveling around right now. But before we end this episode, and thank you so much, Dr. Talia, this was wonderful, wonderful information. Do you
No
have
problem.
one last tip for us to help the listeners?
Sure. One last tip would be spending your good money buying essential oils so you want them to last. So it would be when you're using them, put the lids back on the bottles right away. Don't let them sit because air and moisture are the things that are going to make that essential oil deteriorate. You can also keep the like citrus, which deteriorates more than others. You can keep them in the refrigerator. You don't have to. And if they get to their past their best buy date, don't throw them away, but don't put them on your skin because then they're more likely they oxidize and they're more likely to be irritating. So use them for diffusion or to clean your floors. And that way you can, make them last longer and
Mm-hmm.
not throw out the ones that might, or maybe they just smell a little bit different or off. Some people can notice that.
Mm-hmm.
And those ones too, then just don't put them on your skin anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and enjoy them.
Right. Well, good tip. I would never have thought to put them in the refrigerator. That's a great tip. Yeah, store them in the refrigerator and use them, put them, like you said, go online. There's so many different uses for them and
Yeah, they're a
enjoy
lot of
them.
fun. A lot of
Yes,
fun.
yeah, yeah, an experiment for
Yes.
sure. Oh, before I go, one more thing. I like
Yeah, no
these
problem.
shower pucks you can make with
Mm,
baking soda, and I've done that over the years, and eucalyptus, so you're showering and you're smelling that eucalyptus just opens up your airwaves as well. But yeah,
yes.
that's
Yeah,
another
that's
nice tip.
great. That's a great, and maybe I can supply you with a recipe for that if you
Sure.
want as well for your
Sure. That
viewers.
would be great. Very
Yeah.
good. Well, thank you, Dr. Talia. This was quite enjoyable, very informative, always informative with you. And yeah, I hope everyone you go out, get some essential oils, experiment with them, and get you through the winter with a lot of uplifting scents. Very good. So thank you so much. And
Thanks. Thanks to everyone and enjoy using your essential oils safely.